What is up, people? A little while back I did a review on this baby, my Macdev clone GTI, one of my favorite guns ever made simply because it shoots so incredibly smooth. I did have a little mod done to the bolt system in this gun more recently. That would be the Pooty spring mod, and essentially that is exactly like it sounds. It allows you to run a spring in the gun. One of the issues that plagues a gun like the clone and other balanced spool valve guns, so things like the Lux, things like the Vanquishes, it's bolt stick. The way the bolt's designed, they just tend to have more of those problems, and you tend to have to up the dwell when the weather gets colder to prevent that bolt stick. In my clone, I almost regularly have to adjust the dwell and run it higher. I'm willing to deal with that on a gun like this because the shot quality is so incredible. But I thought I'd look into this Pooty spring mod. Mainly, I haven't been too big on modifications, but it can just be taken out and run in the stock settings, so I thought we'd give it a try. The only modification you would need to a clone GT in order to run this is that you have to change your valve out for the GTI valve. Essentially because the inner diameter of the valve on the GTI is larger. This is a GT valve, and the spring just gets caught in there. It doesn't have enough space in there to move freely. So if you have a GTI valve, you can run this. And essentially the mod is, obviously you get this spring with the mod, and I'll throw a link in the description of where you would get the mod done. You also send Pooty your bolts, and he mills out the back of it there to accept the spring in the back of it. So if you don't get that milled out, you can't just put a spring in your gun, it won't work. We will throw this back together right quick. So the first question you're going to have is, does it get rid of bolt stick? And it absolutely does. I've pretty much never been able to run my GTI at stock dwell, and with the spring mod in, I can run this below stock dwell. I didn't necessarily see any crazy efficiency gains, maybe a little bit, but nothing that really stood out to me. I had it running at a dwell of 11 for the few days that I've used it. It will definitely cycle with a dwell lower than that, but that was really that critical point of just adjusting dwell to where it wasn't, or to where my FPS wasn't going up any higher as I raised it. So 11 worked for me. I know videos have been made showing this run at like 9 reliably, 10. I guess it just really depends on your gun. The one thing that really stood out to me with the Pooty spring mod was having the spring in the bolt gave the gun more kick. I personally am not going to shoot my clone GTI if it has more kick. The reason I shoot this gun is almost purely because of the shot quality. So the spring mod, I wasn't quite sure if it would change the shot quality. I've read on forums that it does. I thought I'd give it a try. It really does change the shot quality. It does not feel as smooth as it did before. So for me, Pooty spring mod might be run if it's real cold and I really want to shoot my GTI. Just give it a little extra reliability. But for the most part, I'm fine with raising my dwell a little bit, putting that FSTO dwell up just a little bit, and finding a reliable spot for it without putting a spring in.